Welcome back to Stress Less, Joy More, all about well-being with Paula.
And Doris.
And today we welcome Jenn Walker. Jenn has kayaked with monkeys in Thailand, sailed the Nile in Egypt, summited Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, jumped out of a plane a couple of times, completed a 50-mile ultra marathon just to see if she could. Jenn's exuberance for life extends to her business, where she helps heart-centered humans tap into their limitless power and potential so that they can make the impact that they are meant to make in our world. And Jenn is a high energy perspective shifter with unwavering positivity and energy. And Jenn's philosophy is that personal growth is a massive vehicle for social change. So whether it's at a workshop, presenting an event, or one-on-one, Jenn leaves people inspired, motivated, and equipped with tangible action tools to take and apply right away. Jenn, we are so excited to welcome you to our podcast.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm excited for the conversation.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And you lived quite a courageous and adventurous life, from summiting Kilimanjaro to jumping out of planes. Would you maybe share a little bit what's happening on the inside with these courageous actions?
It's funny because I actually don't view it that way as being courageous. I think I have this curiosity and this wonder in my body about like what's possible and almost viewing life as a playground. Um,
Oh.
and I did jump out of a plane twice because the first time I couldn't be present. I was too nervous. And so the first time I remember, you just don't have you don't know what's going to happen. And so had a hard time like really anchoring into the experience. And then when we got out there and we were free falling for a bit and okay, the nerves subsided, I'm like, oh, I'd really like to do that again so I can be fully there and
Mm.
fully in the experience versus in the mind. So I would say that's why I did it twice. But yeah, the ultra marathons and things like that, usually they just come to me. They're not something that I think of doing. It's like I meet someone and we have a conversation, and then it's something that just sticks with me, sticks with me, sticks with me. It's like a knowing, like, oh, this is something for you to experience, like a pull versus a push. And
Mm.
I mean, the things that I learned while ultra running was just wild. The things that come in when you're in your body in the woods for that amount of time is, I can't put words to it. So that's kind of what goes on internally, just this exploration of like, we're here for a good time, not a long time. And
Mm.
there's so much to explore, and I just have a curiosity and wonder of like, oh, what's there for me to explore next, maybe, or in the moment.
Thank you for sharing that, and you said it so beautifully. You did it one more time to really experience it, to really live it into your body. And could you share a little bit more about that? Because I think most of people maybe have challenges understanding what's the difference. What's the difference doing something, but not actually experiencing it, because we can do many things but not really experiencing it. And listening to you really brings curiosity and inspiration to actually live, to feel.
Yeah. So the only thing that truly exists is the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
The past, the great thing about the past is it's already history. It's already done. You've gone through it. You survived. You're on the other side of it. You have the wisdoms, the tools, the talents. Great. But it no longer exists. it's of the mind, and the future also doesn't exist. It's of the mind, it's of the imagination. And so truly the only thing that is true is the present moment, and the present moment, and the present moment. And that's where the quantum space is. That is where our limitless possibilities and potential are. That's what I believe we're all here to do, be alive, like in the moment versus in the head, in the mind. And in the mind, I find that fascinating as well, and can take us off center of what truly is.
Yeah. And then if you share also a lot about the burnout.
Yes.
So when your body is in a state of burnout, what does that mean? Are you more in your mind, or then you actually feel it? How do you look on that?
So I'll take you through my own burnout story.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, not amazing that you had
Yeah.
it, but
And
take
actually
us through.
amazing that I had it. You know, I have this belief, and again, beliefs are just beliefs. You can change your belief at any time. And I have this belief that life is always working out for us in our benefit. And it's a little bit different than, everything has a meaning. Okay. So anyway, so I got to my burnout stage because I'm a very highly sensitive human. So I came into this world feeling everything. And I got from a really young age, just from people's faces and looks towards me, that there was something wrong with that. And my amazing mother, she was acing the game with my normal brother. And then she got me, and I could see the frustration and overwhelm with her body and her face with me because I had very big emotions. So from a very young age, I say I learned how to shut up and shut down. And although that sounds awful, it gave me distance. And I became like this fly on the wall and very attuned to people. And people became my greatest study because I was very interested of how the room felt. And so with that sensitivity, unbeknownst to me, I was interested in controlling it as much as possible, making it feel good. And so I got from a very young age that when I did well in school, it made my mom feel very happy. And when I did very well in sports, it made my dad very happy. So I joke, like I got the assignment. I was like, okay, become an academic for my mom and an athlete for my dad, and let's go. And I got to say, it served me well. I could knock out those achievements, get those accolades, get those rewards. And it took me very far. I wouldn't take it back for anything. It gave me certain tools that I still enjoy today. And it got me to my point of burnout as well. So I became a hyperachiever, and unknowingly, I interpreted that my lovability was attached to performance. And so if I didn't perform, I was no longer enough, worthy, deserving. That's a slippery slope and a scary place to be. So my first year of business is when I hit burnout, and my whole life, so this is my late 30s, I was probably going also through a hormonal shift at that time, getting more into perimenopause, but this is actually before perimenopause was really being talked about. So I had no idea. So whatever gear that I was able to push through up until that point stopped. And I was smacked down. And I was smacked down with extreme adrenal fatigue. And I had warning signals before. I had mono in high school and so these like chronic sort of colds and ailments. But then this adrenal fatigue was something like I had never experienced before. So smacked me right down, and I was deep in my personal development era. So I joked that, oh, I get it. I'm learning my lesson in surrender. So I scheduled surrender in for a week. And my body laughed at that. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but that was my experience of my burnout. And the amazing tools that it gave me now was a completely different fuel. My fuel before was driven out of lack, insecurity, and fear and scarcity. And now it's truly stepped into attuning to that aliveness, to that congruency, that love consciousness, that pull versus a push. So I would say I had glimmers of those present moments up into that point, but now I don't live in it full time, but there's more of that, and definitely that awareness of like, what is that energy source that I'm tapping into at different times, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. You know, you've described so beautifully how through outer standards we can achieve a lot, we can be successful, but it's driven by a pattern of that expectations of parents, and we don't even realize that we're pushing ourselves, and we miss the signs throughout the way, those colds, you know, those sort of things that are happening. And then, you know, I was curious, if you live the burnout, if you experience it, how I would hear it, you really can't avoid it. It's so physical, it's there, you hear it scream, and because you're sensitive, highly sensitive, as I mentioned, you're probably even more attuned with your body. It's screaming and you're getting it, but you don't know what to do with it at that point.
And you know, so I learned from a young age that sensitivity was too much. And so I did numb out for quite a bit. And I did become hyper masculine, and blocked out and suppressed and ignored and avoided a lot of sensations. So what the burnout did for me, you know, the body is amazing. The body is constantly in communication with us. And it was inconvenient for me to listen to it because I had goals and I had to achieve those goals in order to be worthy. So I hadn't been listening to my body, to my body, to my body. And then the beautiful body, I just see it as like Mother Earth, and she's fierce and she has boundaries, and she's like, nope. And she just smacked me down in the most loving way possible. And I say that I scheduled in surrender for a week. It took years. And it was literally like I was walking a tightrope and she was retraining me. And the second I would do more, you know, the obligations, the shoulds, the stuff that you make up in your own mind. And I was pushing my body beyond what was in alignment or my capacity. She'd just smack me down again. And a lot of times, like, you know, we don't give appreciation for that. It's like, oh, my body's against me. No, 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 no. Your body's on your team. She's like this wise guide, and I had to learn how to treat myself. And she was there the whole time, and it was a tough love, but it's a love that has now got me to here. And it's been years, and I would say in the last year I was like, okay, we now have this clear line of communication. I know my area in which I can play, and there's this deep reverence and respect for her now. Anyway, I could go on and on about.
Yeah, I see that fire. I see that fire. I'm loving it. And I have just one more question, because you've pointed out two very strong words for me. One is my mind had goals. I love that because we're really living in a society where we focus on goals. On the other side, you've mentioned limitlessness, possibilities. Could you, because most of the time in men's world, especially, because, it is a little bit different. You've mentioned a little bit there. We think that possibilities are how many goals we achieve, what we ticked, how we planned. But those seem to be different. How would you explain those two parts?
Yeah. So how I have conceptualized it in my mind is going from manifestor consciousness to channeling consciousness. Okay. And the initiation to channeling consciousness is surrender. So manifesting consciousness is gorgeous. It's victimhood is the lowest density and life happens to me. The initiation is 100% responsibility. Then we get into this manifestor consciousness. It's lighter, but it's still yang. It's still masculine, it's still push, and it will still have glass ceilings. And so it's like, oh, manifestor consciousness, here are my goals. I define my goals, I put the blinders on, and I take action towards it. So life happens by me and for me. It's definitely more empowered than a victimhood consciousness. And we can still miss a lot of things, because we're creating our goals from the limits of our awareness at that time. So already you're going for goals that are in your past.
Yeah.
Bringing them into your future. Listen, it's fun, and like the law of attraction and The Secret and stuff like that. That's great. That's like it's all a process. And that was the type A hyperachiever. Like I could knock out a goal like no one's business, but to my detriment. And a lot of those goals are from the confines of our cultural consciousness at the time. So it might be the house, the car, the job, the blah, 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 the stuff, the dopamine, the dopamine, the dopamine, the dopamine, the dopamine. Whereas fulfillment is in the serotonin chemicals and the oxytocin, the connection and love. And so when we go in, and by the way, this is not a graduation, this is not linear. We can dip in and out in different areas of our lives in different moments. And this morning I might have been in victimhood, and later I in like, the I am consciousness, which at the top. But this channeling consciousness is this life happens through me. And one of my favorite books of all times is The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. And it's a beautiful story about all he wanted to do was meditate in the woods. And it's just his life journey of just this channeling consciousness, this life happening through him. And he would have interactions where then he was like asked to teach, and wasn't in his preference, and he did it. And then he was asked to like build houses, and it wasn't in his preference. All he wanted to do was meditate in the woods, and he did it. So he was just really interacting with the things that came to him. Anyway, he's lived this crazy, amazing life, created a 6-figure business, a 7-figure business, then was like a CEO of this $1 billion business, and then this meditation center that arrived to his property. And the story is just phenomenal of nothing. There was no, I'm doing this, this, and this, and go do it. It was like just full presence and experience with what is. And so I call it like following the breadcrumbs. So before we started, I told you I was moving to Quebec. Why? There's no reason. This was not a construct of my mind. Something came to me and through me, and it's like, okay, I guess I'm moving now. So that's that limitless possibility of just life. Life is going to present you with things beyond your wildest dreams and expectations. And it might look very different than what you could ever have created in your mind. And it could be inconvenient at times. Yeah.
Well, that was a deep dive through the heart, and I invite listeners to maybe re-listen this part, because it so clearly shows, that we have different ways how to show up and live our life. One from a manifestation point of view, and one through surrendering what comes through us. And that's such a valuable gift you just given to the space. And I will leave it in the space and check in with Paula. What's happening for you?
I'm so excited about this because I'm going, okay, Jenn, what are the next steps then? How do I create that surrender? How do I create that consciousness in my life?
Yeah. It is in the present moment. It is like, I call it the hot cold game. So all of us we're all wildly intuitive. It's whether or not we have been flexing that bicep and building that muscle to know that communication line. So the next step is dependent on the person and how they communicate and listen to their intuition. So there's clairaudience, you might hear things. There's claircognizant, you might just know things. Clairvoyant, which we've all heard of, you might see things. And just like clairsentient, feel, you might just know and sense and feel things. So how does that come in? And I always say, if you know, you know, you know. And in a world where we've given this prefrontal cortex a lot of street cred, we don't have to rationalize anything. And, and the more we don't, the more life and the people around you will just stop asking questions and challenging it. Like, I'm always asked, like, do people challenge you? Or I'm like, no, people know I'm a wild card by now. They know, like, I'm just gonna do whatever I do. They're kind of along with the ride. They think it's weird and fantastical, and they just like, what's she up to now? But that took some time and some interactions of deconditioning, because we all have like patterns, and we have patterns in relationships and patterns and lenses of identity. And so when you start listening to your intuition and stop over explaining why you're doing things, you don't even know why you're doing it. You just know to do it. And all of a sudden you do that enough times and people are like, okay. And it just makes it a lot more fun, a lot more flowy, and a lot more like, what's this life all about anyway? Let's just go out and experience it and have a little laugh as we're going about it.
I love that. I feel so much freedom in that. You're inviting me to, almost be childlike,
Yes.
that curiosity, that noticing, that wonder, and to get out of that brain, that rational brain. How do we move from that rational brain that we've taught is so important? How do we move into, that feeling, into the body, into the heart? How do we make that transition?
Yeah. So, and I always say, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. So, like, our brains are developing, 25 to 30. We have all that white matter that is there, and then we're fully into our prefrontal cortex. So, along that journey, we're like, wow, look at what can happen in this prefrontal cortex and making decisions. I'm not against it. Like, that's one of the many ways in which we can learn and experience this world. So I just like to simplify things: the mind, the heart, the gut. The heart to me is the all-knowing. It's like this, the North Star. It knows before we do, before we can make sense of things. So yeah, make sense of things, gather as much data that is available to you, but notice the data is limited until you get more data, right? So sometimes things don't make sense until they make sense down the road. So that's the limits of the prefrontal cortex. The heart is always in that knowing. And then the gut, to me, is that those instincts. It's the ancient bacteria in there that just knows. It's been here for decades. It just is like, nope, yes, nope, yes, in the moment. But coming down to that like childhood wonder, I always think like, so when we look at the physical body, how to stay young. So we have our chronological age, and then when we have our biological age, there's so many studies that involve movement. So if you don't move it, you lose it, sort of thing, right? So movement affects our biological age of our body. I believe novelty and play affects our biological age of our brain.
Mm.
Okay. So we notice that time speeds up as we get older. Well, why is time so slow with kids? Because they learn, constantly learning. And so that's something that I noticed for myself as I kind of geared down where I live now. And I was like, is this it? Am I getting old? Am I retiring? I'm like, I could do that. And that's fine. But I just, again, that like intuition, like I just could see myself as like granny learning how to ride a motorcycle in my 90s. Like that's so to me, that's compelling. It's like that lifelong learner. And again, we're here for a good time, not a long time, and that exploration. So how to get into that body? It's first like listening to this type of podcast or to other people and almost being like compelled in a way of knowingness, like, oh, there's something in there for me. And then all of a sudden you'll notice the times that you're in your body. You'll notice when you have that play, that childlike wonder, you'll enjoy it. Every time you notice that enjoyment, it will happen more. Anytime you notice with appreciation, it will happen even more and more and more. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's interesting. Look at me now. I'm having so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing is that you're inviting it in, you're welcoming it in.
Yes.
And through moments, like rather than, okay, all day long, I'm going to live in this presence and this state of curiosity and playfulness. You're talking about moments, moments of noticing. And for myself, what I notice when I go on a vacation and I see things with different eyes,
Yes.
it's like it slows it down.
Yes.
It's like, wow, even being in an airport to me is exciting, but just noticing different things, it seems to slow it down. And like you said, more of that appreciation comes in. I feel that gratitude bubbling up in me. And it's taking those moments of noticing, to keep driving that curiosity in me. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And vacation is a perfect example of a state change, and it has nothing to do with the location. It's within you. And so the location is like an anchor, eliciting that sensation, but that sensation is you. And so then we get to choose. And so I always joke, I'm like, oh, I'm bringing vacation Jenny home. Vacation Jenny is fun. And she's like full of wonder and awe and interaction and connection. I'm always looking to meet new people. And then I get home and I'm like, oh, interesting. It's just a different pattern. So if we go to a certain trail, and this is relevant to me because I do a lot of trail walking, and there's this one go-to trail that I always usually go in one direction. And when I'm not thinking, I constantly go and I turn right and I do the loop that way. And then it takes more energy to consciously like, oh, I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to turn left. And then I turn left, and all of a sudden I'm doing the loop that way. So that's habit forming. And so when we bring Vacation Paula home, it's going to feel like turning left. It's going to require a little bit more energy and intention to it. intention to it, intention to it, intention to it, and all of a sudden vacation Paula lives full time. Right? Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, can you tell us then maybe a little bit about, you talked about habits there, and I love this idea of vacation Paula. I'm gonna take her away with me today. Um, can you tell us a little bit about some of the neuroscience? And I know you have knowledge in neuroscience and hypnosis, and how that impacts all of this.
Yeah. So I'm obsessed with the subconscious mind. So what we just talked about there, like the trail metaphor is a good one because we can all kind of see those patterns, those grooves. And I actually just talked about that is what I would call a bottom down approach, where we're taking the conscious mind and making a decision and then putting energy towards it to repattern. That's one way to do it. And it takes time and effort. Where I'm obsessed with changing habits is bottom up through the subconscious mind. And so the modalities that I enjoy to use is things like NLP and hypnosis to do that. And the subconscious mind drives 95% of all our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, our habits, our behaviors, and therefore our results. So that's where I typically enjoy affecting change. And it's nice to know both modes in which to do it. Yeah.
So how do I know if I'm in my conscious mind or if the subconscious mind is taking over?
The subconscious mind is usually taking over. And we want it to. so it's very highly energy efficient that way. So habits, like we can stack habits consciously. So for example, I like stumble out of bed every day and I let my dog out and my body just goes to the kitchen sink and pours a liter of water. And then I'm drinking it without even knowing that I'm doing it. And I did that through consciously doing it enough times. And it's estimated, like there's so many different estimates, but 21 to 66 days to fire and wire a habit. And it's just neurons talking to neurons. So when neurons talk to neurons, they create different pathways, then it becomes new habits. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to get into the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is usually the facilitator, in my case, me. And you can do it to yourself. There's like self-hypnotic techniques where we're firing and wiring those neurons in a very suggestible state or relaxed state. So we fire and wire, we create those neurons, and then all of a sudden a person's going out and they're like, interesting. I'm not consciously thinking about exercising more, but I'm compelled. Like my body's just going towards it versus it used to not want to or not be interested. I'm interested today to exercise. And then all of a sudden you're exercising every day and you're like, what? I didn't do this. Like it was done for me. And so the patterns are just running in the background. And all of a sudden you're like, well, okay, I just feel like doing this and I'm doing it. And you just notice that you're doing it. Yeah.
Wow. What I'm hearing is, my pattern of push, 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 do, go, 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 that hustling, that is so effortful. Like that takes so much energy. And what I'm hearing from you is that this sounds effortless. Like it just seems to come out of us when we can get into that state.
You got it. You got it. It's running in the background. So the subconscious mind is the same thing that keeps our lungs breathing and our heart beating. And there's nothing we need to do. So, all of our bodies are amazing. They're doing so many different things. And you're probably not noticing the moisture in your mouth right now. But as I start talking about the moisture in the mouth, all of a sudden you start noticing the moisture in your mouth. And so whatever we notice expands. It was always there. And without it being there, we wouldn't have been able to communicate for this last little while, you know, and that's just a perfect example of the subconscious mind. There's nothing we need to do. And then if we notice it, we'll actually increase it. And if we notice it with appreciation, like how cool is that? Our bodies are doing all these things 24/7 a day, like even when we're sleeping, and there's nothing we need to do. And so when we notice these things in real life, it's like, oh, look at me, I'm just exercising. It will start to increase. And like, oh, I'm exercising good. Oh, I'm an exerciser. And then it becomes an identity. And then the identity runs the show from then on in. Yeah.
I think I just want to spend a week just breathing and noticing and appreciating.
Yeah. And that's a huge shift. So when we're thinking about sensations or even thought patterns, so that are no longer useful or valuable, there's so many different techniques that myself and other practitioners and YouTube use. And I always joke, like the easiest is just to notice. So our brains, for example, you know, we have this expression, time heals everything. And it is true. Like our amazing brains, just like our entire body, know what is no longer useful or valuable. So our subconscious mind is constantly closing down these tabs, like almost like a computer tabs that you were once open and useful and valuable. It knows when it's no longer useful and valuable. But they're a lot of times open and like running or draining the battery, the energy of the system, the body. And the greatest thing about that is whenever you notice something, so a thought pattern or a sensation that is worse than useless, there's nothing to do. When you're with it and let it be. So you don't even have to let it go, because that requires action. There's nothing to do. Just let it be. And as you become aware of it, the beautiful brain that is geared for this cleanup of all times is like, oh, that's no longer useful. Bloop. So this is where the present moment, again, is like, this is where all the possibility and power really lies in so many different ways. And just trusting and recognizing and noticing the wisdom of the body and the brain as it does it all for us. If you want to do anything, just notice it with appreciation. That's all you need to do. Yeah.
That'll be my one takeaway today. Notice with appreciation. I love it. I feel like I just want to, you know, be kind of lazy and just allow the noticing and the appreciation to be here.
I dare you to. And notice the difference. So I actually dare, if this feels like something fun and of interest to play with for people listening to this podcast, play with that for the next week. So we don't have to make huge commitments the next 7 days of just noticing and just noticing with appreciation, allowing every single sensation, allowing every single thought to be there. As we know, we are not our thoughts, nor are we our sensations. We are the wise observer of those thoughts and sensations. And they're there for us. They're there for our intuition, our wisdom, and there's nothing we need to do. So it's actually the grasping or attaching onto or the meaning making that might encapsulate them and keep them. As we let them be, the beautiful mind knows exactly what still serves us and will keep it, and whatever is no longer of service or value, it will clear it. And when people try this the next 7 days, just notice what you notice at the end of it. And there's usually, from my experience, people experience this levity, this lightness, this wonder, this awe, this like, what? Is it that easy? Yes, it can be when we work with our body versus, oh, I have these negative thoughts. No. Your body is, you just the same intelligence that made you and I from a single cell, I'm trusting her. Like she's figuring everything out in the background. She's specialized, she's multiplied, she's specialized into different organs and systems, and she's keeping me alive. I'm going to trust her with all the big stuff. I don't need to do any of the heavy lifting.
I love it. Well, I just want to say, dare accepted. I've accepted your dare, and I will report back to you in a week.
Love it.
Doris, what's coming up for you?
Well, I just love that, time heals everything also has a scientific background, and I loved your explanation of that. I became very curious, and I can't currently accept that challenge. I have to wait for 10 days and then it's fully accepted.
I love it.
On plan. But what I was thinking was, you focus on also helping people with business. And let's say for most of people, we also go to work. We are, employees. So we might feel overwhelmed, exhausted with finding that space for that laziness and presence and embodiment, and keeping up with expectations of our employer, or the plans we did input, because we still need some, though we might lead through how the intuition guides us, we still usually have to do some things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Why do we become overwhelmed in that process? What's happening inside of us? That's the most, maybe one thing.
Yeah.
That, is the challenge for people who have their own business, or, what do you see maybe in your clients?
Yeah. And so first, I would challenge the statement of we have to do certain things. Because it's kind of like, okay, well, I can't not do that. Is that true?
Okay.
We gotta really kind of catch ourselves on the BS, because there's a lot that we can do, that we're capable of doing, and there are a lot that things that we should do, obligations, expectations. And really, if we find ourselves in an exhaustion, overwhelm, I know one thing, it's a subtraction game. So this is where I would encourage everyone, if they're feeling into that exhaustion or overwhelm, first, like, take a little beat before you start anything and just bathe yourself with loving compassion. This is not your fault. It is the conditioning that we are currently living in our culture. Okay. So I don't think anyone has gone through this life unscathed by exhaustion and overwhelm. And it's like, now let's tend to our garden. So if we're interested in changing those cultural expectations or drives or whatever, tend first to your own garden. So looking and taking like a life audit first. And you can just write down all the things that you're currently doing. And I would write them down in front of you and just say, be like, okay, what can I just say no to right now? Literally, like, oh, I want to learn another language. Nope. Oh, I want to learn another recipe. Nope. Like, what are the things? Like, start taking things off the list right away. Then you want to look, okay, what are the things in which I can delegate? Okay. And an example I'm going to use for this, because you both have children, and children I see mothers just overpouring into their families. I love that. And you don't have to, to have really well-adjusted kids. It's two things: love them unconditionally and accept them unconditionally. It's like, I went to a friend's house recently, and they just got new cats. And they have like this beautiful cat tower and all these cat toys. And then they also had an empty Amazon box in the kitchen. And I was like, what's that box for? The cats love the box. We can't get rid of the empty Amazon box. They lay in it together, both of them, all day. And that is just a metaphor for humans need very little. We're just interested in present connection, love, acceptance. And so why I say this is I played a lot of sports. I had amazing parents that went above and beyond, but it wasn't what made them amazing. And I played this sport called ringette, and my parents were there every single day. And I had another friend, and she was Croatian descent, and they're like, "Oh, you get yourself to the arena. You figure it out. You just do you." And then we come to like big, national championship game with their wine in the arena, and like everyone loved them. And then they would invite us all over for like a full meal of food, but they didn't overextend themselves to get their daughter to sport. It didn't mean anything. It didn't make them love them less or provide them with less. Even as I look at this as an adult, I see that woman, she's so highly capable because of it, and connected with different people. And so why I say all this is there's a lot of obligations or shoulds out there, and that's a parent example, but even in work, and I'm kind of picking on women now, but women go above and beyond. It's just like, do you have to? Still do great work, but do the job. But if you are tapped out, that's not going to be good to anyone. So really, what can you say no to? What can you delegate? And then it starts shifting things and putting things into priority. And that word was never meant to be plural, priorities, a priority. And so if we have aging parents and a parent gets sick, I know that was my experience recently, and I had a business as well. My priority was my family, and I wouldn't make it any other way, but I wasn't going to try to do my business to its full capacity either. I just didn't have that capacity. So instead of making it mean something, I just got in with my values and my choice and focused and felt good and had an amazing experience with it, and knew that I could pick this up when I could pick it up again, if that makes sense. So anyway, I just say challenge, because our minds are silly little minxes. They're cheeky little minxes that try to trick us all the time with things that we've heard or said a lot that might not be true. So Byron Katie's work is like, is it true? Is it absolutely 100% positively true? And then you're like, well, no, because everything that we have created in this lifetime has been made up. So if we've made it up, then we can make something else up that might fit better to us and to like our lives. Anyway, that's me on my soapbox of calling ourselves out on our like, is that true? Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is, the first thing is to pause and to really examine, what's actually happening for you. And I loved how you pointed out, start with no's,
Yes.
Start with the list and say no to as much as things possible, then delegate, and then find one priority. So, and it's sort of bottom up from my perspective. First take the trash out, then organize, and then focus on one thing.
You got it. And everyone's looking for that fullness, that richness. And when we get really intentional of our priority, and that's priority moment by moment, that is that fullness, that is that richness. And any other things that might come up, again, allow it to be there, like, oh, I'm not doing enough. That's the conditioning of untethering, and there's probably some fear, lack, insecurity that's arising, that's just coming up to come out. So just being with it and focusing your energy on what's on your heart to focus on, and all of a sudden You have that energy back. You have that energy back and focus on the things that you actually truly care about.
Yeah, sometimes we perceive that something is blocking us, or this is that we do feel we're incapable, but we don't have that awareness that is just coming out, right? We think if it's coming out, then it's true, but it's only coming out for us to process it and move forward.
You
So
got
that's a very important awareness for people to have, not to mislabel the experience.
You got it. It's like for the mind, it's do it, don't die.
Yeah.
Okay, so and it rewires the pattern. So, for example, if a sensation came up and it's uncomfortable and it drives something through lack, scarcity, insecurity, because it feels uncomfortable, just be with the uncomfortable sensation and do it, don't die, do it, don't die, do it, don't die. And then all of a sudden that sensation is that uncomfortable sensation becomes comfortable. And I'm going to give an example because this is, my hyperachiever. I was always doing. And anytime I laid down horizontal, I was lazy, and I had a lot of stuff that used to come up for me. And then I would get up and I can't be lazy. I gotta do until I decided to do that differently. And so I remember my first day of committing to be lazy all day. And there were a lot of sensations that came up. Guilt, shame, whatever, you name it, it came up. Fear, lack, insecurity, all the stuff. And so I just allowed the sensation to be there, and I made my body stay, be lazy. And I did that enough times where I did it and didn't die, didn't die, didn't. And so sometimes I'll get to a point where I'm like, oh, I'm just going to have such a lazy day. Well, the thing is, when you fully go into those things, you get the rest that the body is pushing, is interested in getting. And then all of a sudden I'm thinking, oh, I'm just going to like tap out all day and like rot on my couch. And then I'm there for half an hour. I'm like, oh, no, I'm good. And so almost like going fully into the storm, like what is the most concerning sensation, and go directly through to it will get you through it the fastest way versus running away from the storm. The storm will chase you. Go through it and you actually get through it on the other side quicker.
Yeah. We call that a pajama day.
Yes.
And then we could see our daughters coming down. They go brush their teeth, and then they come down. It's like, you're still in pajamas? And she's like, yeah, it's my pajama day. Oh, okay. So it's a pajama day and it feels good. And now they also know how to use it, being in comfy clothes. And, speaking about these well-being areas, how we can create them mindfully for ourselves, would you be open to maybe lead us to well-being self-care practice?
Sure. I'll share one that I just recently shared on my podcast, and it's a neurohypnotic repatterning technique. And it was created by a man named Richard Bandler. And he's like really the founder associated with NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And it's a really interesting and easy one. And it's really great to take any sort of negative state that you're experiencing that you're interested to shift. So for the listener right now, for a moment on purpose, cause a negative sensation. So something maybe that you have been noticing even currently or recently that you're interested to shift. So that's it. So Doris and Paula are closing their eyes, and that's a great idea. So really drop in for a moment on purpose, cause a negative state. And as you notice that state in your body, if you don't have it yet, just think of something recently or currently that had been troubling. And as you notice that, notice the spin. So that state has a certain energy, and that energy will have a spin in your body. And it might be forward to backwards, or backwards to forwards, or side to side, or on a diagonal. Whatever it is, just noticing it. Noticing that spin of that negative state in your body. Now, with that spin, take it out in front of you with your finger. So taking that energy out in front of you, that's it, with your finger. And showing that spin right in front of you, demonstrating it with your hand and your finger, what direction it's going in. And just noticing it now outside of you, in front of you. And as you notice that spin, you're going to reverse it. And reverse that spin in the opposite direction. And you might already start noticing a shift. And as you start noticing a shift, or even if you don't start noticing a shift, notice that reverse spin of that finger. And with that reverse spin of the finger, draw it towards you. Draw that spin now into your body. And now experiencing that reverse spin in your body. And notice the difference. And as you notice the difference, just give a little chuckle. An audible, oh, interesting. That's it. And then opening your eyes. So curious, Paula, what did you notice with that?
Yeah, there was such constriction when I started in my back and my belly. And then I just noticed a counterclockwise turn.
Yeah.
And I just felt it kind of looping up my torso. And then, I took it outside of me. And then when I did the spin the other way, I just started to notice that ease, like come from the top of my torso all the way down. And even that little chuckle was a shift in state as well. It was like, I feel good. Like I felt like we're at the ocean or something, and there was waves and it was shifting. It was beautiful.
Yeah. And why I like this technique is it's so instant and it can be used in the moment. So say something is arising in you, you're in an event or you're going to a party and you're noticing some social anxiety or it's literally any sort of state. It's first like, okay, noticing that is that awareness piece that will already start to clear things. There's nothing we need to do. Then as we get present to the sensation, the spin, great. And at a party, or if you're in front of people, you don't have to close your eyes. You can do it just by imagining it in your mind's eye of bringing it outside of you. So that your mind gets that you have the sensation, but the sensation doesn't have you, because that's the truth. So as soon as you get it out, it starts to really shift things. Then when we reverse it, it completely changes the energy. It's the reverse of that. It's the opposite. So we start getting into a resource state. And the brain and the body knows exactly what to do. This is the fun of it. It's just this tiny little simple technique. And as we reverse it, bring it back, and then experience that resource state. And yeah, Paula, the laugh, the giggle is another layer of reverse state. And so if you're at a party and you're doing this in your mind's eye, you bring it back and you can just like, it doesn't have to be loud. You can just even chuckle inside, but like a ha. You're just like, I just did something. Like just that like cheeky nature that like brings in a resource state to whatever circumstance had elicited that sensation before.
Wow, that was awesome. Doris, is there anything you want to add before we start to come to a close? All right. Then you know what? We'd like to ask you, Jenn, just before we start to come to a close, is there one person who deeply influenced your journey?
Yes, I gotta say my mom. I don't know if people say other mentors, but my mom was my first, life mentor. And she recently passed away. So she passed away January of 2025. And I got to know her even more through her transition, as she liked to call her life transition, through her death versus our life together. It was amazing, everything I learned about this woman. And my mom, just a little brief backstory, was the healthiest. Me and my brother would always joke she's going to outlive us, and she got cancer, and she was got the prognosis of 3 to 6 months. She's only 73, and I have never witnessed a level of acceptance from anyone. And I was checking. She decided, she had this autonomy to her, this choice. She decided she was not interested to go through any conventional means. She talked to her oncologist about it, and her oncologist was like, actually, I would do the same thing. If I got cancer, I wouldn't do the radiation chemo. And my mom's the biggest thing for my mom. She's like, I'm not interested in being in any pain. And that was it. It was this, she had decided that she was going to do MAID, which in Canada is medically assisted in dying. And it was beautiful, our experience of it. And my mom was in complete choice and autonomy with her death. And I just kept on checking in, because I was like, is she showing us this, me and my brother, in order for this to be easier on us? No, I lived with her at the end of her life, and what I learned through her during that time was phenomenal. Like, she was fully accepted in death. And she, a couple days before her passing, she had people calling her, and I could hear her. I was in another room, her counseling and coaching her friends and family members. And she had no sadness, zero sadness about it at all. For her, it was just another life transition. And she's like, I'll see you. I'll always be here. I'm just changing form. And like, I'm in another room, like choking back tears, and I'm hearing, people on the phone, like crying. And she's like, I love you. Like, it was this beautiful demonstration of connection, of love, of like, I still can't put words to the experience of what I witnessed with my mom. And then even after that, I truly do believe, like, we sometimes learn more. Like, there's almost like this life review that everyone gets. And anything that I had misinterpreted before, I got a clearer understanding of our humanness through, and so there was just so much there that I got. And then just feedback from people that I didn't know very well, like who were employees of her, and who she was and how she showed up as a person. I didn't know. I maybe knew a little bit, but how she was, she just empowered other women to rise in their roles. And, they joked about her humor and how she'd always be bringing games and playing like the Office Space, and she'd always bring in the hula hoop because she knew she was really good at it. Like, just like this hilarious humor. And feedback from neighbors about what an amazing neighbor she was, and people saying like, oh, she just did things differently. Anyway, so I gotta give the props to my mom, and I don't think I would have before. I didn't recognize it until the end of her life, and now I see it fully, and I'm like, snaps, mom, like, well done. And what a beautiful example. And I could literally go on and on and on. Even our conversations, her death planning, just, it was the most loving thing for us to go through, me and my brother, to have those types of high level conversations of her wishes, of everything was just, I was like, well done, Mom. Standard is set. Yeah.
Wow. I just want to say, I think that's a really important conversation for families to have.
I agree.
And, you know, even now I say we need to have these conversations with our kids now.
I agree.
And I think that's such a beautiful example of what a difference that made for all of you.
100%. Me and my brother and my sister-in-law were there in the room for her passing, and I do believe our culture, I'll say like the North American culture, has things a little mixed up. It was one of the most like loving, peaceful. The whole room as she passed like lifted, and it was something, you know, that other cultures get as in different types of rituals and appreciation and celebration. It's something else. It's a life transition like a birth. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And she was the one to create the parameters in which I could be present with that experience so that I could see it clearly. So lots of props, lots of gratitude to that woman. She's in space. We communicate all the time. She's a witchy woman. We talk all the time, but she's she's something else. And I fully got it at the end, probably in perfect timing. Yeah.
You know, it sounds like your mom was very joyful and shared that beautiful gift with you. And you talked a little bit earlier about two things, that parents only have to do two things. So Doris will pay attention to this, to provide unconditional love, unconditional acceptance. And it sounds like that went both ways. You know, in the end, you were able to connect with your mom with unconditional love and unconditional acceptance.
Yeah. And we're human, right? So there was a lot of times that wasn't the case, and there was rupture, repair, and that's the ego state. And then when you get like why I got it, then it zoomed me out, and I could see everything clearly from a different vantage point, which is perfect timing. I wouldn't have it any other way. All that humanness is perfect as well. Yeah.
Jenn, this has been a delightful conversation. We could keep going with you here today. You know, what the messages I got was be lazy. So I'm going to take that away with me today.
Yes, Paula. I dare you. See the results. If you haven't been doing it differently, see what you get. Yeah.
I'm going to say Jenn Walker told me to be lazy, to notice, to appreciate, to be present, and to not have priorities, to prioritize. So thank you for helping us prioritize our well-being. I'm just so deeply appreciative of you being here today with Doris and I.
I've really enjoyed this, and you two have a very special dynamic and relationship and energy. So this has been my absolute pleasure and delight to be here with you.
Thank you so much, Jenn, for joining us. I do have one more question.
Hit me.
Where can our listeners connect with you and learn more about you?
Sure. So my website is diveheartfirst.com, and you can find me everywhere on Dive Heart First. So I have a podcast, whereas me just riffing on a bunch of different things right now. It's going to become whatever it becomes, but right now it's just like this massive heart and brain dump that I'm quite enjoying. So Dive Heart First podcast, Instagram Dive Heart First, all the things Dive Heart First. That's the best way to connect with me.
Oh, it sounds super fun and joyful and very inspiring. So thank you so much for sharing from your heart today. It was such a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Remember to take a breath, to be lazy, to notice, to appreciate, and find a moment of movement, internal and external. Find a moment to invite joy in. And of course, subscribe, like, and follow our podcast. Until next time, on Stress Less, Joy More.